Dear students, good morning. Hope all are safe at home. I am Krishna Gaike teaching you Science and Technology Part 1 and 2. This is the index of Science 1 and first chapter is gravitation. In this chapter there are 7 topics like gravitation, circular motion and centripetal force, Kepler's law, Newton's universal law of gravitation, etc. From March 2020, can you recall type questions are cancelled by the. Let us begin with this chapter. In previous standard, you have seen that gravitational force is a universal force and it is acts not only between two objects on the earth but also between any two objects in the universe. Let us begin with this. The phenomena of gravitation was discovered by Sir Isaac Newton. As the story goes, he discovered the force by seeing an apple fall from the tree on the ground. He wondered why all the apples fall vertically downward and not at an angle to the vertical. After much discussion, he came to the conclusion that earth must be attracting the apple toward itself and this attractive force must be directed towards the center of the earth. Direction from the apple on the tree to the center of the earth is vertical direction and its position of the apple and thus apple falls vertically down. Figure shows an apple tree on the earth. The force of an apple on the tree is down towards the center of the earth. Figure also shows the gravitational force between the earth and the moon. Newton thought that if the force of gravitation acts on apples on the tree at different heights from the surface of the earth, can it also act an object at even greater height much farther away from the earth? Like example, moon. Force and motion. We have seen that force is necessary to change the speed as well as direction of the motion of an object. Let us introduce a scientist. Great scientist Sir Isaac Newton was one of the greatest scientists of recent time. He was born in England. He gave his laws of motion, equations of motion and theory of gravity in his book Principia. Before this book was written, Kepler had given 3 laws describing planetary motion. However, the reason why planets move in the way described by Kepler was not known. Newton was, with his theory of gravity, mathematically derived Kepler's laws. In addition to this, Newton did groundbreaking work in several areas including light, heat, sound and mathematics. He invented new branch of mathematics. This is called calculus and has wide-ranging application in physics and mathematics. He was the first scientist to construct a reflecting telescope. Circular motion and centripetal force. Tie a stone to one end of a string. Take another end in your hand and rotate the string so that the stone moves along a circle as shown in the diagram. You are applying force on the stone in the direction of the force acting. How will you stop this force acting and what will be the effect on the stone? As long as we are holding the string, we are pulling the stone towards us, that is towards the center of the circle. The force stops acting if you release the string. In this case, on the stone will fly off along a straight line which is the tangent to the circle at the position of the stone when the string is released, because that is the direction of its velocity at that instant. Thus, force acts on any object moving along a circle and it is directed toward the center of the circle. This is called centripetal. Centripetal means center seeking, that is the object tries to go towards the center of the circle because of this force. You know that the moon, which is the natural satellite of the earth, goes round it in a definite orbit. The direction of motion of the moon as well as the speed constantly changes during this motion. Do you think some force is constantly acting on the moon? What must be the direction of the force? How would its motion have been if no such force acted on it? Do the other planets in the solar system revolve around the sun in the similar fashion? Is similar force acting on the moon? What must be the direction? From the above activity, example and equations, it is clear that force on the moon to go around the earth, there must be a force which is exerted on the moon, and this force must be exerted by the earth which exert the moon towards itself. Similarly, the sun must be attracting the planets including the earth towards itself. Let us begin with Kepler's law. Planetary motion had been observed by astronomers since ancient times. Before Galileo, all observations of the planet's position were made with the naked eyes. By the 16th century, a lot of data were available about planetary position and motion. Johannes Kepler studies this data. He noticed that the motion of the planet follows certain laws. He stated three laws describing planetary motion. These are known as Kepler's laws, which are given below. Kepler's first law. The orbit of a planet is an ellipse with the sun at one of its foci. This diagram shows the elliptical orbit of the planet revolving around the sun. The position of the sun is indicated by S. Kepler's second law. The line joining the planet and the sun sweeps equal areas in equal interval of time. AB and CD are distances covered by the planet in equal time, that is after equal interval of time. The position of the planets starting from A and C are shown by B and D respectively. Straight line AS and CS sweeps equal area in equal interval of time, that is area ASB and CSD are equal. Kepler's third law. The square of its period of revolution around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the mean distance of the planet from the sun. So if r is the average distance of the planet from the sun and t is the period of revolution, then t square directly proportional to r cube, that is t square upon r cube is equal to constant, that is equal to k. This is equation number 1. Kepler studied this law simply from the study of the position of planets obtained by regular observation. He had no explanation as to why planets obey these laws. We will see below how these laws helped Newton in the formation of his theory of gravitation. Newton's universal law of gravitation. All the above consideration, including Kepler's law, lead Newton to formulate his theory of universal gravitation. According to this theory, every object in the universe attracts every other object with a definite force. This force is directly proportional to the product of the masses of the two objects and is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. And introduction to the scientist. Johannes Kepler was a German astronomer and mathematician. He started working as a helper to the famous astronomer Tycho Brahe in Prague in 1600. After the sudden death of Brahe in 1601, Kepler was appointed as the royal mathematician in his place. Kepler used the observation of planetary positions made by Brahe to discover his work. He wrote several books. His work was later used by Newton in postulating his law of gravity. of gravitation. Figure shows two objects with masses m1 and m2 kept at a distance from each other. Mathematically, the gravitational force of attraction between these two bodies can be written as F is directly proportional to m1 into m2 upon d square, or F is equal to g into m1 m2 upon d square. That is equation number 2. Here g is the constant of proportionality and is called the universal gravitational constant. The above law means that if the mass of one object is double, the force between the two objects also doubles. Also, if the distance is double, the force decreases by a factor of 4. If the two bodies are spherical, the direction of the force is always along the line joining the centers of the two bodies, and the distance between the center is taken to be d. In case when the bodies are not spherical or have irregular shape, then direction of the force is along the line joining their centers of mass, and d is taken to be the distance between the two measures. From equation 2, it can be seen that the value of g is the gravitational force acting between the two unit masses kept at a unit distance away from each other. Thus, in SI unit, the value of g is equal to the gravitational force between two masses of 1 kg kept 1 meter apart. Uniform circular motion or magnitude of centripetal force. Consider an object moving in a circle with constant speed. We have seen earlier that such a motion is possible only when the object is constantly acted upon by a force directed toward the center of the circle. This force is called as centripetal force. If m is the mass of the object and v is the speed and r is the radius of circle, then it can be shown that this force is equal to F equal to m into v square upon r. If a planet is revolving around the sun in a circular orbit in uniform circular motion, then the centripetal force acting on the planet toward the sun must be F equal to m v square upon r, where m is the mass of the planet, v is its speed and r is its distance. That speed equal to distance traveled upon time taken. The speed of the planet can be expressed in terms of the period of revolution t as follows. The distance traveled by planet in one revolution is equal to perimeter of the orbit 2 pi r, where r equal to distance of the planet from the sun, time taken is equal to period of revolution equal to t. Now v equal to distance travel upon time taken, that is equal to 2 pi r upon t. So F is equal to mv square upon r is equal to m. In the place of v we will write 2 pi r upon t square upon r is equal to 4 m pi square r upon t square. So F equal to 4 pi square m upon r square k, but 4 m pi square upon k is equal to constant. Thus, Newton concluded that the centripetal force, which is the force acting on the planet and is responsible for its circular motion, must be inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the planet and the sun. Newton identified this force with the force of gravity and hence postulated the inverse square law of gravitation. The gravitational force is much weaker than other forces in the nature, but it controls the universe and decides its future. This is possible because of the huge mass of planets, stars, and other constituents of the universe. Thank you, students. Remaining part of this chapter will complete in the next session.